This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this will be like a vitamin for your heart and mind. And I pray that wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, especially those of you on iTunes. If you could leave a rating and a brief written review, it really does help people to be able to locate this podcast. Where I'm living, we're getting ready in certain parts of the United States to reopen. It's going to be a very slow process, somewhat fitful. We're going to try to get back into it. And no one's ever done this before, at least in our lifetimes, in our unique way. And so what are we going to do? And a lot of times when we're facing something unusual, something a little bit above and beyond, we're just trying to hang on. We're just trying not to get swept away. I want to be kind of counterintuitive, and here's what I want to ask you. In a time like this, what are you going to do and what am I going to do to actually improve? You see, we have a chance. There are some who have already become discouraged and act like they're going to give up, or we can make a difference. I just reread today, or not today, this past week, the book Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. If you've listened to me very often, you will know that I'm a big fan of the Slight Edge book by Jeff Olson, as well as The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. They discuss how making little positive changes. And here's what's happening as you're listening. You're saying, well, that may be good if you're young. I understand that as Albert Einstein talked about, the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest. It's not just the compounding of interest, it is the fact of time. And you may be an older person saying, I really don't have that much time. But I just was reading again this morning something that Jeff Olson said, is that there is no real yardstick that says here's how long you have to stick at a habit development, trying to get better, getting out of debt, saving for retirement, getting in good health, losing weight. You can just put whatever you want to put in there. Is the fact that the reason so many people get discouraged is that when you do little things, it doesn't seem like this hour, tomorrow, next week, even next month, that much appreciable change is really taking place. He says, but somewhere within 3 to 5 years, if you keep making good, smart choices, even as small and incremental as they are, they will lead to big results. A lot of times we get overwhelmed because we see what we need to do and we set the goal so large that we just set ourselves up for failure. Begin to go for a 15, 20-minute walk. If you haven't been off the couch in months, don't say you're going to run a marathon tomorrow. Take some small steps and then build upon them. If you're in debt, then start working a debt snowball. Pay the smallest ones off first. Open up an IRA if you're needing or a Roth or 401k. Get involved in saving for your retirement. If you're wanting to read through the Bible, start reading a couple of chapters a day. If you want to start feeding your mind on good books, set a goal to read 10 pages a day. It's easy to do, but the problem with all this is anything that's easy to do is also easy not to do. So let's talk about, as we begin to reopen, what steps can I take to start to improve? I've already talked about the first one, and that's just start small. Just do something. Just begin to take positive action. Most of us know what we need to do now. Whether you want to do it electronically, I am a fan at this point of getting yourself a journal, piece of paper, notebook. There's just something unbelievable that happens between your hand, the writing utensil, and your mind and your spirit get all involved in writing something. It really makes for some positive changes that are going to take place in your life. So write it down if you need to. Figure out what are those things that you really want to see accomplished in your life. Now, one of the things I have to caution you on, don't get easily discouraged. you don't always see the results right away. You see there is sowing, cultivating, and then the harvest. Unfortunately, most of us want to go straight from sowing to harvest without time to cultivate. Cultivating is that incubation period, that time of doing the few minutes a day of exercise, reading the 10 pages of the book, putting $5 a week away into a savings account. It doesn't seem that it's making that significant of a difference today, but given the leverage of time, you are going to make significant changes in your lives. So as you seek to improve today, your life personally, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, your career, your work initiatives, start small, just commit to doing something and doing it every day. You will be in 3 to 5 to 10 years absolutely amazed the difference that you made. One of the other things that you ought to be doing right now, besides starting small, is now is a good time to evaluate your life. Just evaluate, what are my strengths? What are the things that I really am good at? Now I know you're modest and humble, and that those are both good, wonderful attributes. But you and I know that there are some things that you're really, really good at, and that's fine. Now, we also have to pause and remind ourselves for the fact that we are able to do some things fairly well. There are a few things, maybe many things, that we aren't able to do as well. It's more difficult for us, it's more draining to us. And I think many of us, when we started out, unfortunately made the mistake of ignoring our skills and trying to work on improving our weaknesses. And that's almost a prescription for discouragement. You should continue to enhance your strengths, but you need to mitigate and limit your weaknesses. Sometimes if you're in a business and you have a particular weakness, you can hire someone to help you manage those. I wouldn't say just ignore them totally, but get to the point where you're comfortable. All of us, in any responsibility we have, there are some things that we are more naturally drawn to and gifted for, and we all understand that, and that is where you should function. You should function as often as possible in the areas that are in your wheelhouse. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter who you are. You can be a butcher, a baker, or a candlestick maker. There are going to be aspects of your responsibility that contain things that are not things you like to do, but you must do them. You will probably never be in a position where that is not the case. So you must learn how to handle them effectively and efficiently. Obviously, not everyone is in a position where we can hire someone to manage our weaknesses. So we're just going to have to make ourselves do some certain things. But this might be the best time to really do an evaluation, even if you've done it in the past. Here are the things that I really like. Here are the things that I don't like. I'm going to help develop my strengths, and I'm going to mitigate against my losses. The next one goes right in that one like a hand in glove, and that is, whatever you do, keep learning. The people that are going to make it in these days are the people who are continual learners. It seems as if learning doesn't quite have the shelf life it may have had in other generations. Our knowledge is expanding, you can say, with technology and other things. We're needing to know things. So you can't just say, I went to college, I graduated from high school, I apprenticed, and therefore I know all that I need to know about the given field of endeavor that I'm involved with. That is not true. You need to keep learning. What I'd ask to you is, what is your personal development plan? Do you need a coach? Have you identified some books, some podcasts, perhaps even some webinars that you want to take? Are there seminars that you would like to be a part of? What are you doing proactively and positively to keep learning, keep growing, and keep stretching? I believe as a leader, another thing, that this might be a very good time to learn to develop courage. If you're going to be a leader, there are times when you're just going to have to act courageously. There will be people who find fault. There will be people who criticize. There will be people who will tell you how much better they could do. If anything I've come to understand in our world today, again, I've said it, is that people seem to be able to understand how to do everyone's job but their own. They know how the politicians, the bankers, how their spouse, how everyone else should operate, everyone that is but themselves. So develop courage. If you're going to step up and be a leader, you're going to have to make decisions and you're going to have the courage of your convictions. And there'll be times when people will second guess you. There'll be times when people make fun of you. There will be times when you are roundly and harshly criticized. Be a leader anyway. Develop courage. Read biographies of courageous people. I think of a couple of Brits that come to mind, Winston Churchill and Margaret Thatcher, that they had the conviction of their character, and there are times when they are quite popular with the people, and there are times when they were very unpopular. Leader, you're going to have a popularity season. I hope you don't have a long season, but you will have a season where there'll be some unpopularity that goes with it. So develop some courage. One of the things that I am continually trying to get better at and to do is develop my listening skills. I am by nature, my default is to talk, but I am discovering in these days a richer reward comes when you listen. And I've learned a whole lot more by listening than I ever have by talking. And as a leader, it's imperative that we develop listening skills. Be a time right now to revisit your yearly, your quarterly, your decadal plan. Our plans have kind of been shot a little bit these last couple of months, so sit down, plan out the quarter, plan out the month, plan out the year. We have no idea exactly what it's all going to look like, but that doesn't mean just take your plans out of the notebook, wad it up, and throw it into a trash can. If you need to adjust, we always do. There's always tweaking and adjusting in this thing called life, but go ahead and make a plan. One of the things we really need to do now is communicate. I would even say, leader, friend, this is a time to really over-communicate. However much you normally have as intervals of communication, probably in these days we want to step it up. There's so much discouragement. People are isolated. Isolation leads to depression, discouragement, and it's time for us to communicate. We have a plan, we have a method, we're going to make it through. Let's keep working together. Let's do those things. And when there's so much negativity around you, as I have done, I have turned the evening news off these last few weeks. It's not that I want to be ignorant of the current events, but on the electronic devices I am made aware of what all's happening in the news. And I have found that as I watched a lot of it, it made me more anxious, and at times the anxiety would even turn to anger, and I could feel myself becoming that way. And so I'm trying to feed my mind positive messages, and I'm wanting to stay positive. If there's ever a time that we needed our leaders to be positive influencers for change, it is right now. So I'm going to say to you, my leadership friend, I pray that you will learn how to stay positive. You will be an encourager. It seems to me if you want to be never unemployed in this day and age, make yourself an encourager. The final thing that I would say to you is, why don't you try something new? Now, I know that too seems counterintuitive. Many of us are just hanging on, trying to get through life, the day, the year. Try something new. Is there something you always wanted to do? Learn a foreign language, play a musical instrument, develop a skill? We have so much help available to us. You can go on YouTube and learn just about how to do anything in this world. There are many things on there to learn how to do that I don't even know what they're talking about and would never in a million years have thought it up on my own. Can't do everything. But what I'm discovering is if you try something new, it almost helps to keep your spirit and your mind alert. And we need leaders who are engaged, who are going to help us walk out of these crises we've been involved with, and will fearlessly lead us into the future with faith and good sense and some good ideas. We are desperately looking for you, leader, to help us. You've been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust that it's been like a vitamin or a supplement today for your mind and heart. And please, again, wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom? Pass the word along to your friends and family. I'd like to get some folks to really subscribe. And then if you could leave a rating, and it'd even be helpful if you could leave a brief written review. It really does help enable people to discover Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom. Thanks for listening today. Remember, my leadership friend, you are doing better than you think you are. You really are. And until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying, have a great and blessed day.